Okay. These little windows like to cover up my various controls. Okay, let's do the screen sharing. Okay, so do you have my screen there?
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing that I want to talk about is this incredible new laptop that's coming out from Asus. It's called the ProArt Studio 16 3D OLED. And what it is, it's a laptop that actually has a three-dimensional OLED display. And things actually come out of the screen at you and go back behind the screen as well. So you see a lot of depth. And it's what's called a lenticular display, where each pixel has a bunch of lenses attached to it. And then they have a couple of cameras that do eye tracking. So the cameras look at your eyes and figure out where your head is. And then it optimizes the display for your head position and your eye position. So it's got, so it's sort of a breakthrough type of display. It's 3.2K, 16 inches, 120 hertz refresh, 0.2 milliseconds response time. And if you follow those types of things, that is a very fast response time. So this is going to be a killer gaming machine. And it's 100% DCI-P3 color gamut, which means a very wide gamut, very rich, very saturated display, color calibrated right out of the factory. Windows 11 Pro. It uses a high-end Intel CPU, pretty high-end NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 CPU. It's not as fast as a 4090, but then again, it won't burn down your house either. So it's got a pretty sophisticated cooling system, a lot of storage, haptic touchpad, so it gives you feedback, vibrational feedback on the touchpad. Lay flat hinge, a lot of I/O ports, Dolby Atmos, loudspeaker system, U.S. military grade durability. So it passes various mil standard durability tests, which is great. So this gives you sort of an idea of the display. This is sort of an artist's conception, but it conveys the idea that things pop out of the screen towards you. They don't actually go above the screen like this shows right here, but you get the basic idea. So it's glasses free. There's it will convert 2D to 3D. And so there's a switch that you can flip to go between those two. And it supports the types of software packages that we all like as developers. It's got a plugin for Blender, a plugin for Cinema 4D, plugin for Sketchfab. So this is a pretty exciting computer. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that are sort of previews of it, people who have tried it out. It's not the full version of the laptop yet that they've tried out, and it hasn't hit the streets yet. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. So anyways, here's the RTX 4090 GPU, and here's the 4070. These are laptop GPUs. So it's a good fraction of the 4090 performance. But because you have the Intel CPU in there, that's going to take up a lot of the heat budget. So they have to make some allowance for that. The next thing is the MetaQuest Pro VR headset is back down to $99.99. So it's dropped down from $14.99. It dropped down for a while, then it went back up and it's dropped down again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transport you about 5 years into the future, technology-wise, and show you what we're going to have within that 5 years. There was a great segment on 60 Minutes. So if you're watching the video, you can see the URLs for all these pages that I'm going to present. Or you can look up the names of the articles and programs and so forth. So 60 Minutes had a good segment on ChatGPT. They focused a lot on the Microsoft version, all kinds of errors that they found in the results from ChatGPT. And I think what it illustrates is you can't believe something that comes out of a computer just because it comes out of a computer. And I think this is a portent of things to come. And I think the other thing that goes along with that is companies are now struggling to keep their corporate secrets out of ChatGPT. For example, some companies were having their employees were typing in corporate secrets into ChatGPT, and they found out that those secrets were emerging from other ChatGPT sessions that other people were having. So it was actually mining their sessions for training data that it was going to use with subsequent users of ChatGPT. Now that is a frightening thing. So a lot of corporations now are saying, hey, to their employees, we don't want you typing in company sensitive data into ChatGPT. And so I think this and the 60 Minutes segment combined are telling us something about the future. And that is, there's a lot of garbage in, garbage out going on with ChatGPT. A lot of incorrect information that's coming out of it. And why is that occurring? It's because it's scraping pages from the web. And there's a lot of crazy information on the web. And you don't want to believe everything that's on the web. So don't think that ChatGPT knows what it's talking about. All it does is it's good at constructing what sound like reasonable sentences from web pages that is scraped from the web. So it's going to tell you all kinds of crazy things. And you can't believe everything that it says. And then there's this issue about sensitive information. So I think what's going to happen is that corporations, enterprises are going to have their own version of ChatGPT that they use internally that's based on their own internal information. So what you're going to see is these large language models that are going to be internal to the corporation, and it's going to represent the entire knowledge history of the company. And so that's going to be a great resource. And I think you're also going to see something else, and that is large companies that have great information repositories, like the Mayo Clinic, for example. They're going to have their own large language model that you'll be able to access from the web, but it's going to be based on their own curated series of articles that they've already created, that they've already had within their information system. And so you can go there and get some decent information about health. You have a health question and so forth. They're going to be able to provide that to you in a chatbot type of form, but it's not going to contain all this crazy stuff that you otherwise would see on the internet. So I think that's what we're going to see. And then from an enterprise standpoint, I think that we're going to see libraries of large language models that you're going to be able to set up for your employees, like how to create a pitch deck. And they're not going to come up with crazy stuff off of the internet, but stuff that's been curated already. That's the basic problem with these large language models that are scraped from the web, is that they just embody too much crazy stuff and they give you too many crazy answers when you're spitting out information from the chatbot. So I think you're going to see a major movement within the enterprise where they're going to use curated data for their chatbot, for their large language models. And that's going to be a whole industry of creating that stuff. So I think we're about to see that. I think there is going to be a convergence with augmented reality in particular with AI, and it's going to be a massive thing. And so this article from Newswires is talking about how the augmented reality software market is expected to reach 250 billion by 2027. And so that's a huge amount of money. And something that goes along with that is March 25th through 29th, we have the IEEE VR 2023 conference in Shanghai. And the interesting thing about this, can you see my mouse cursor, Dominique? Is that this is the 30th anniversary of this conference.
30.
30. They've been doing this for 30 years.
I thought it's like 3 years.
No, 30 years. So we
It's a
tend
huge
to think that
milestone.
all this, what's that? What's
Huge
that?
milestone for VR. I never expected
Yes.
30 years. It's a huge milestone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we tend to think of all this as new stuff that nobody's done before. No, it's been going on for 30 years. And this conference not only covers VR, but it covers augmented reality as well. And if you click down the page onto the papers, you'll see all the papers that they currently plan to present. And in fact, if you do that, you will also see the abstracts of those papers. So one interesting thing is that they have an online version of this conference as well. And so if you're an IEEE member, which I am, I think the online version would cost you like 500 bucks. There's a bunch of price ranges depending on whether you're a student, whether you're a member, and so forth. There's all these price ranges. So I think it costs you anywhere from $300 to maybe up to $1,000, depending on your affiliations and so forth, to see this online. So if you're a corporate type, I mean, that's peanuts. And I think it's a fairly important conference, and I think you'll find that it's got a lot of very interesting stuff. Okay, so AI or augmented reality, we're saying is what, 250 billion by 2027. This was an interview of a Morgan Stanley analyst on Squawk on the Street. I watch CNBC Squawk on the Street every morning as sort of the background as I'm working. And this is an eye-opener. A bunch of analysts from Morgan Stanley, a sort of a team of analysts, came up with a paper saying that there is going to be a $6 trillion AI internet opportunity. And they're talking about what companies will capture it. And the idea is that this is going to increase consumer and business spending. And that's part of where this $6 trillion market comes from. And he said that it's an inflection point in AI, similar to the iPhone moment of 2007. And he thinks that Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta will benefit the most. Other companies he mentions are The Trade Desk, Roblox, Unity, Etsy, Uber, DoorDash, Farfetch, I'm not familiar with that, and Shutterstock are all other companies that are going to benefit quite a bit from this. But Alphabet, Amazon, and Meta the most. He did not mention Microsoft, which I thought was very interesting. So that's, talk about business possibilities and convergence of technologies. Wow, this is all an eye-opener. So if you were thinking, you know, all this stuff is dead, no way. it's about to explode. And so here's just a few little snippets. I ran into so many articles about this, about companies that are already producing AR systems for the enterprise and so forth. There's just huge amounts of work in these areas. So this is just a snippet. AI, this is Formula One racing, race cars. AI replays and augmented reality. What's new for Formula One's TV coverage in 2023? Formula One's television coverage has always been at the cutting edge of technology, with the series bosses always striving to make it better. Here's something very interesting. For the TV coverage of Formula One racing, they typically put $400,000 cameras inside cars. And so if an accident or something happens, they can get the feed for these cameras and do slow motion replay and, you know, high resolution, all this stuff. Now what they're doing is they can use less expensive cameras, and they can use AI that takes the feed from these less expensive cameras and interpolates frames and so forth over time to create slow motion from those less expensive cameras, lower frame rate cameras, and boosts the resolution up to like 4K, for example. I use software like this right now, video processing software like this right now. And these guys are playing things back in near real time. So I suspect that what they're doing is they're going out to the cloud using server farms that probably contain high-end NVIDIA graphics cards. And so they're in a very short time period, they're able to create this high resolution, slow-mo footage from these less expensive cameras. And I think this is just a phenomenal example of this type of thing. This was a fabulous interview. I believe this was on Squawk on the Street as well, on CNBC. ChatGPT is a milestone for Qualcomm as it showcases AI smartphone capability, CEO says. Right now, these large language models are in the cloud, lots of storage and so forth. What the Qualcomm CEO is saying is that they will be able to bring these large language models for ChatGPT onto the phone instead of serving them from the cloud. And he says that they have the hardware to make this happen. And so within the next few years, remember, I'm talking about what you're going to see in the next 5 years with technology. In the next few years, they're going to be able to bring those large language models into your phone so that you don't have to hit the cloud to get responses to your queries. And if you're on a plane and don't have internet connectivity, you will be able to do it offline on your phone. And another thing that he said, and I agree completely with this, I think this guy is a real visionary. He said that the next thing we're going to see is augmented reality glasses that are tethered wirelessly to your phone. They aren't going to have the processor in the glasses. I think this is a movement that we're going to see. Take the processor out of the glasses, use the processor that you already have in your phone or your computer, and that way you can greatly reduce the battery requirements for the glasses. You can greatly reduce any computing requirements for the glasses and reduce the cost of the glasses. I think this is the way things are going to be migrated. And he says, there's no point having just a phone that's got this tiny little display on it that you have to look at. Why not have these huge displays in the visual field of your glasses? And as you turn your head and look in different areas, you'll see different displays, just like you would have big displays in front of you on the desktop. And so that's the way things are going. That's the way it is. It's inevitable. And I'm about to show you some evidence for that. This is the way things are going to be going within the next 5 years. So let's get used to that. He said eventually it's going to migrate right into the glasses, so you won't even need the phone anymore. And I think that's correct as well, but that's a little bit further off. So this is a great article from Forbes magazine. I really encourage you to take a look at this. They've got a video that goes along with it as well, a video review. And it's entitled, I've Seen the Future of AR Glasses at CES 2023, and it's amazing. So we were thinking, you know, this technology is a ways off. No, it is. You're going to see it next year. It's going to be rolled out next year. And they've got the models, the prototype models and so forth, and they're ready for production this year, and we're going to see it rolled out this year. So augmented reality glasses are going to be big, and I've been given a sneak preview of the technology that will power the glasses from major manufacturers, and it's astonishingly good. Israel firm Loomis will be supplying the optical engine for at least one set of AR glasses from a household name later this year. In other words, they wouldn't tell him the company. Loomis couldn't confirm who it's working with, but firms such as Apple, Samsung, and Google have been rumored to be lining up product launches this spring. I was given a sneak preview of the company's second generation Z-Lens 2D waveguide technology in a private meeting at CS 2023. And anyways, he talks about it. It's very bright, 3,000 nits. That's what you need. You need incredible brightness to match up with the brightness of the environment when you're outside with augmented reality. And he gives a demo, and well, I'm going to talk about another set of glasses as well. But he talks about this. He says he talks about 6-hour battery life that they're getting. So it's there. The technology is there, and it's coming very rapidly, much more rapidly than we thought. So in conjunction with that, let's go to the next article. This is Xiaomi's AR glasses. They have a prototype, sort of a technology prototype that they've been showing off. And it has close to the resolution of your retina in your eye. So this is phenomenal. And there is a video review that's been done here of these glasses. They have 3 cameras in the front. They have a darkening pair of glasses that I believe is electronically controlled to go dark or go clear. And if you put it in dark mode, then you've got a VR system. If you've got it in clear mode, then you've got an augmented reality system. And there are some aspects of this that are very interesting. They use a proprietary system to communicate with the phone and wirelessly, and it uses a combination of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to get a lag of 15 milliseconds, which is very good. That's like a 70th of a second. And they say that it's an imperceptible lag, and I believe it. So that's a very interesting system. I don't think it's as good as the previous glasses that I just described in some areas, but this has some very interesting capabilities. So you can see we're marching towards this reality where we're going to have these AR glasses that communicate wirelessly with the phone at a very good rate, very low latency. And I think this is pretty impressive. So he has a video review, and it's great. You really want to see this review. Their battery life is not as good as the other glasses, but anyways, that's another system that's very, very interesting. And that's on the mixed-news.com site. What do you know? Apple. Apple taps China's Luxshare to develop augmented reality device. And so they talk about the display technology and so forth. And what do you know? The display technology appears to be very similar to these glasses, micro LED display technology. And in fact, Apple is said to be trying to start up in-house manufacturing of micro LED displays. So that's very interesting. These are all very interesting developments. It sounds like things are really heating up in this augmented reality space for, you know, in relatively normal set of looking glasses. And so as a developer, you look at all this stuff and you say, great, all this stuff is coming out. There's the Apple headset, by the way, which the latest rumors say Apple's going to unveil it at their Worldwide Developer Conference in June. We'll see. You've got the headsets from, Meta. You got all these things. You got cell phones with augmented reality. As a developer, you think your head's spinning, and you're going to say, what the heck am I going to do with all this? How am I going to develop for all this stuff? And all these things are coming out. How am I going to do this? There's a way to do this. And I love this system. Dominique always laughs when I bring it up, but it's a company called Echo 3D. I think the answer to all of this is you need to do platform agnostic development. And a lot of people that I've mentioned here have been talking about this, that you have to do platform agnostic development. And this company, Echo 3D, helps you do that. We talked, I think, a week or two ago about how, you have to worry about how many polygons you're rendering, depending on the device and all this stuff. Echo 3D takes care of all that. It changes that on the fly for whatever device is being used for playback. So it could be a smartphone, it could be a headset, it could be so-and-so's pair of augmented reality glasses. You do your development once, it adapts to all of that stuff. And you can use Unity, you can use Unreal Engine. I don't know if you're a Unity developer, one of the things that you probably run into is Unity is very version sensitive. So if you use a new version of Unity, then all of a sudden you get all these errors and you have to go in and fix them in your code. Echo 3D has a representative at Unity. They take care of all that. So you don't have to worry about the version. So this is an amazing setup. And also on the server side, they use all the different cloud services. They use AWS, they use Azure, they use all that stuff so that if one of them fails, which happens occasionally, they just have another one step in. It doesn't matter to them. And so they have free accounts, and then there's paid accounts. Basically, what the difference is the paid accounts give you more bandwidth per month. So it's an incredible system. From a developer's standpoint, it simplifies things tremendously. And you wonder, so how do I get started with this? Well, X Reality Academy just happened to have interviewed the CEO and founder of Echo 3D. And this is on our YouTube channel. You might want to take note of the name, Build a Cloud-Connected AR/VR app in 15 minutes or less. And that's serious. You can build an app in 15 minutes or less using the Echo 3D system. And the CEO went through the process for us and walked us through it. And we grilled him pretty intensively. It's a little over an hour long, I think, and or an hour and a half long. And it's fabulous. It's one of the best interviews, one of the best talks that X Reality has ever done. And so I highly recommend it. And in fact, if you want classes on Unity and so forth, augmented reality, virtual reality. Dominique is opening up her new version of her academy, the X Reality Academy. They're going to have a soft launch on April 15th at 10 a.m. So go to her meetup page and look that up and sign up for it. And it's just, there's a fabulous opportunity that's just exploding out there in these systems. And here's a great way to approach it. And Dominique's got the classes for you. I've taken probably a dozen of her classes. I've taken all the classes that she's had so far. And so it's a great resource to learn how to do all this stuff. So that's pretty much what I had. I'll turn off the screen sharing.
This is amazing. Thank you so much. This is the entire like course, right? Amazing. Yeah.
The universe awaits.
Yeah. Yeah. I am really interested because yesterday I just saw kind of a feed. It says that ChatGPT 4 will be audio, video, and chat mixed. So right now we are typing text, right? And GPT-4 will have audio, video, and text. So it's interesting to see. Maybe we just say something, and there's another AI software is in beta right now, which you just type something, description, type something, and you will generate 3D model, which I'm looking for.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm setting up for that as well. So there's all kinds of interesting things going on. I think there's something to be said from a legal standpoint about this stuff. And that is, if you use any of these generative AI programs or websites to create images, keep in mind, how did they come up with these images in the first place? They scraped them from the web. And so there was a recent court case where someone tried to copyright an image that they had created through generative AI, and the copyright office would not give them a copyright.
It's
Because
a book
law,
writer, right? It's a
what's
book.
that?
It seems like there's a writer. She or he wants to kind of like use Mid Journey to generate some images. However, when when the author submit the entire book, the visual and the text part, it seems like the text part being covered because it was written by that person, but the image part, the copyright office said that, oh, it was not generated behind a great mind.
It was not generated by a human. And it says that a
Yeah.
person has to create the work. That's in the copyright law.
Yeah.
And so it was not created by a person. Plus, since the components of the image were scraped from the web, you may be violating the copyrights of other people. And so I know there have been some lawsuits that have come up due to people using ChatGPT to generate code. And so I talked to a lawyer about this. I talked to a patent attorney about this. And he said, if you have a startup and you want to get venture capital funding, this is something that the venture capital guys want to know about. If you've been generating code using ChatGPT, they want to know that, and they want to know how you're handling that. In fact, he said, from a legal standpoint, what you need to do in order to protect your startup is you need to consult with a copyright attorney to make sure that what you're doing is not going to violate copyright law and get you in hot legal trouble. Because there have been companies that have been sunk by using code that they were not entitled to use. And so the venture capitalists don't want that to happen. So this is something where you have to tread very carefully. And I'm not a lawyer, but my take on this is sometimes, as I'm a developer, I'm a programmer, a longtime programmer, sometimes you get stuck and you can't figure out how to do something. And, you know, we all run into this. Dominique runs into this all the time. And so she goes out on the web and she figures out how to do things. Now she's asking ChatGPT how to do things. So what my take on this, so far, I'm not a lawyer, is that sometimes I just need to figure out what API do I have to access in order to do this? What API calls or whatever. So I would use it for something like that, just to figure out what's the next step? How do I proceed? I'm not going to copy and paste the code from them, but I just want to know what's the next step? What APIs do I need, what calls do I need to make and so forth? And that's the way I look at it. That, oh yeah, that's the call that I need to make. I just want to find out that level of information, and I'm going to avoid copying and pasting it into my code, into my production code. So those are just some warnings. Now, if you have an enterprise version of your own ChatGPT that's created from your own enterprise and not being scraped off the web, then that might be just incredibly useful to use code snippets that you already have, that you've created within your company, that maybe you as an employee didn't even know about. And that could be hugely useful to you. And then in that case, you might have very strong footing from a copyright perspective to use your own code. And I think another thing that's going to occur that's maybe not occurring right now is that when you use your chatbot, your internal chatbot, to find something, to create something for you, it's going to have to annotate these reference sources that you're pulling this from. So, you know, if you have a system that you created for another company under contract, maybe you need to know about that before you copy and paste it. So I think there's a huge evolution that's going to occur in this. There's going to be a huge amount of work for companies to do in these areas. And we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg right now.
Actually, like when one of my student, her background is computer science. She saw the code from generated from ChatGPT. She said that it's not optimized. There are a lot of if, and she said those can be reduced or something. What I said to her is that it's kind of, at least it's probably not the best code, but it makes things work. It's kind of like sometimes when you need to write a framework, it might take some time just to figure out the structure. But ChatGPT kind of like laying out, even though there are a lot of if nested, and you know that, hey, this can be written in a more efficient way, but just come up with that code within 5 seconds. It's already,
That's a great case, because if you're going to do your own optimization and everything, then you're basically rewriting the code, right? And so it's new code. And you'd have to talk to a copyright lawyer about this, but that may help you out from a legal standpoint.
Yeah. And I think in the future, probably everything will be kind of become as a whole, right? Before we were talking about, oh, metaverse or AI, AR, VR, MR, every platform has its own little territory, right? And I think just like you said, that the platform who can unify,
Yes.
or who can kind of help to organize to unify the entire thing will be really helpful. Because right now we use Unity, right, or some other platform. It seems like there's a learning curve just to switch from one platform to another platform. And I really think that later on the learning curve it's like the platform will become easier and easier. And it's the matter of whether people can bring up the judgment or critical thinking or ideas to make the concept come true. So for example, I feel like right now this world, I don't know whether you believe in God, Buddha, or alien, that doesn't matter, but it feels like, at the beginning of Bible, it says that when God creates the world, or, when the creator creates the world, he just says something and something just comes up and become real, right? I don't want to say we are playing like creator, but it seems like things will become more and more like that. And I talked to another developer a few weeks ago, he mentioned that, yeah, the AI will eliminate the intern and junior positions of a lot of companies. And then the senior, mid-senior level, they only need half of them. Why? Because, for example, like intern, what interns doing is doing the basic structure, and sometimes it will make mistakes, right? And probably ChatGPT can totally cover all that part. And then what? Yeah, go ahead.
I think that, in fact, one of the interviews, I think it was the interview with the Morgan Stanley guy on CNBC. He talked about, they said, is this going to eliminate jobs or create jobs? He says, it's really hard to tell with these things, but typically, looking back historically, it generates jobs. So I think it may eliminate some kinds of roles, but I think there are new roles that are going to need to be fulfilled that we don't even know what they are yet. They're going to become apparent as we progress, but we don't even know what these new jobs are going to be yet. And so I think it's just a huge amount of activity that we're facing right now. And I think it's very challenging to keep up with the technology.
Yes, right now it's just go really wild. And I can tell you that I'm preparing a course. Last year's my setting and this year's my setting is totally different just because of AI.
Yes.
What's the point? Because I talked to another XR experts a few days ago. He mentioned that, one of the course, the problem about creating a course is that video recording, right? And we need to make sure all the course is not only up to date, but step by step and building up the foundation. And you need a lot because you are an education platform. And I questioned him, if AI, what's the purpose of the education? Should we train people like the old way that everybody should remember everything? Or we just teach them the basic foundation and we directly jump to advanced capstone? We don't really need to make sure everybody can remember everything, because if people know foundation and they kind of, I don't know, pair up with mentors like real humans, right? And come up with their own project that they are interested, instead of everything we need to hold their hands from beginning to advance. Why not we just teach them very simple stuff, and later on they can come up with their ideas? We just throw them topics, problems, and let them to figure out how to solve the problem. Is that a better way of education, or we still need to do the traditional recording from the beginning to the end?
I think there's a sea change going on right now with education. And that is, there are various courseware sites. And the problem that you can run into with those sites is that the classes may be 3 years old. And technology is changing so rapidly that it's becoming a major challenge just to keep up. And so if, for example, X Reality Academy has classes that are more current, that have just been developed on about the latest technology, then the other courseware sites can't compete with that because their classes are too old. And another thing that means is that there is a tremendous need for continuing education, where you had, for example, someone might sign up for your classes and take some classes, and then you might notify them, hey, I've got a new class that's just coming out that's on this new thing that just occurred in technology, and you can get up to speed on that very quickly through this class. Whereas the other courseware sites have never even set anything up for that new technology. So I think those are two areas where you can have a strong advantage. And I think another thing that comes up is that the courseware sites are not going to actively help you to find a job if you're a developer and you're learning these new things. Whereas you have, with your academy, you have the opportunity to have sort of a job marketplace where people can interface directly with the people who with the companies that have a need
Mm.
to employ these special skills. And your people are learning the latest skills. They need to employ people to use those skills. And so I think that's a great area for X Reality Academy to inhabit.
Yeah, I think now time is come to an end. I will stop recording. Give me a sec.